This evening, the Guyana Fire Service is actively investigating the events behind the Guyana National Shipping Corporation Limited fire. Stabbing survivor recounts the traumatic incident that culminated in her son's death. Main suspect in GPHC multi-million-dollar fire dismissed amid sexual harassment probe. In the region, hundreds of thousands displaced in deadly Brazil floods, and internationally, as Russia-Ukraine tension escalates, EU scrambles to secure gas supplies. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. The Guyana Fire Service is currently investigating the circumstances which led to a fire at the Guyana National Shipping Corporation Limited on Sunday, January 30th. The fire department was notified of the fire around 8:12 a.m. and immediately dispatched the fire tenders to Lot 56 Lombard Street, Georgetown location. They were able to extinguish the blaze. As a result, a workshop and gear room housed in the same building that caught on fire on the premises were destroyed. Investigations are ongoing to determine what caused the fire. Additionally, the Fire Prevention Department is slated to conduct fire prevention inspections later this week with the GNSC. This is being done with the aim of putting ample passive and active fire suppression systems in place to prevent and reduce the outbreak of fires at these facilities. The Guyana Fire Service repeats its calls for the appropriate fire prevention and responsive measures to be put in place to avoid the loss of private and public buildings and to avoid the risk of injury and possible loss of life. Esther Sobers files in this report that the Guyana Police Force caught a 21-year-old man with an unregistered gun during a police operations in the Caneville area. Here is more.
On Sunday, January 30th, between 11:15 a.m. and 12 a.m., an intelligence-led police operation was conducted at a house in Hammerhead Street, Caneville, East Bank, Demerara, where a 21-year-old suspect was apprehended with an unlicensed firearm. Reports say that a police officer from the Golden Grove Diamond Police Station went to the location where several people were gathered. Upon seeing the police, they immediately began dispersing. However, the police were able to identify a 21-year-old male from All Boys Town who ran into his girlfriend's Churchfield Caneville East Bank Demerara house. The suspect is wanted for a series of armed robberies in Georgetown. The Rang gave chase and made contact with his girlfriend at the door and requested to search the house. She led the Rangs to the bedroom where the suspect was seen lying on the bed. A search of the bedroom unearthed a .32 pistol and 2 live rounds of ammunition under the pillow on the bed in their presence. They were both told of the allegation, cautioned, arrested and escorted to the Golden Grove police station, where the suspected firearm and ammunition were lodged. The duo remains in custody pending charges. The Guyana Police Force has stated, quote, that threats of gun violence in Guyana continues to loom over our neighborhoods, some more than others, which endanger families and children. Many guns are taken off the street when people are arrested and any firearm in their possessions are confiscated. In 2021, the Guyana Police Force managed to recover 71 illegal firearms, successfully taking them off the streets of Guyana and out of the hands of criminal elements. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. A male doctor who was being investigated for claims of sexual harassment against a female at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation has been dismissed with immediate effect after the hospital's administration found him to be guilty of gross misconduct. The doctor, who was also attached to the Georgetown Public Corporation, was being investigated by the hospital's administration after reports of a female staff at the corporation alleging that the doctor, who is also her superior, was sexually harassing her via telephone calls and messages. The man is also the prime suspect in a fire that swept through the cardiac laboratory at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation on January 1st, 2022. The man was sent on leave on December 31st, 2021 over the complaints made by the female member of the department. The fire damaged millions of dollars worth of equipment at the corporation on New Year's Day, just one day after the man was sent on leave. Nevertheless, investigations into the fire continues. Stick around after the break. GPF makes a substantial bust of cannabis on the Essequibo coast, and stabbing survivor recounts a traumatic incident that culminated in her son's death.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop price smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Taxi service, transportation for every occasion, short drop, airport, weddings, funerals, and much more. We're located at Lot H. Durbin and Vicingen Road, next to Green City Bar. For honest, efficient, and reliable service, call Kingdom Based Taxi Service at 648-5959 or 227-7937. You can count on us.
Welcome back. Esther Sobers spoke with a survivor of a stabbing attack as she recounted the events of the tragic day that resulted in her son's death. Here is more.
40-year-old Cordisha Edwards, the surviving victim of a heartless stabbing, is grateful to be alive while seeking justice for her son, who was not so fortunate. On January 26, 2022, at the family's home in East La Penitence, the woman and her 21-year-old son, Isaiah Edwards, were stabbed by her 30-year-old lover, Sean Bob, over uncooked food. Unfortunately, Isaiah Edwards died while Cordisha Edwards was hospitalized for several days. The woman, who was recently released from the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, says she had never had an abusive relationship with Bob, with whom she had shared a relationship with for the past 3 years. However, Cordisha recollected that on that fateful day, Bob, who was earlier imbibing, displayed anger that the family had never seen before.
While cooking, he started to argue for the food. I want my food, I want my food. My son was in there lying down. And my son came out and was standing just about where you are. And I was in the chair there. And he said, Mommy, give him the food. So I said to my son, the food is not finished. How could I give him unfinished food? And he continued saying, you want the food, you want the food. So my son told me to get up and give him the food just how it is. And that is what I did. I went and I took out some food in a plate and I gave it to him. And just as how I gave him the food, he was there at the back door. My son was standing right there and he threw the food out of the door. If you open the door now, you can see it still got straw on the fence there. And my son got angry. And my son told him, Ma, you going on childish. Because he see no reason for you going on so over unfinished food. There's no need for your behavior.
This led to Isaiah and his mother being attacked and stabbed. After that, the suspect fled the scene. Following a wanted bulletin and based on information received on Saturday, police ranks went to a house in Helena No. 1 Mahaica and arrested the suspect, Sean Bob. When police arrived around 7:20 p.m., Bob was seen jumping through a glass window, fully dressed as a female, complete with makeup and a wig on his head. He was apprehended and is currently under police guard at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where he was taken for medical attention. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Police are investigating a report of break-in and enter and larceny committed on the Bagotsville post office during the early hours of this morning. The suspect was caught at the scene and arrested. Enquiries disclosed that the post office is a wooden structure secured using a padlock. Around 3:15 a.m., ranks acting on information received went to the post office where they observed the external wooden wall of the building broken. Further checks made in and around the post office resulted in the suspect being discovered hiding in a room inside the building. He was arrested and taken to the Lagrange police station, where he was placed in custody as investigations continues. The Guyana Police Force made a substantial bust of cannabis on the Essequibo coast. Dale Jarvis filed this report.
Ranks of the Guyana Police Force in Regional Division 2 went to a house at Johanna Cecilia Essequibo Coast and found a large quantity of compressed marijuana on January 29th. 2 Venezuelan nationals were also arrested at the time. Reports state that the policemen conducted a search of the premises in the presence of the 2 suspects, where the compressed parcels of leaves, seeds and stems suspected to be cannabis were discovered in the ceiling of the said house. The 2 men were arrested, escorted to the Suddy police station along with the suspected cannabis. The narcotics were weighed and amounted to 42 kilos. The men were placed into custody and the narcotics was lodged. Further investigations are underway. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
Thanks, Dale. Don't go away after the break. Hundreds of thousands displaced in deadly Brazil floods and Peru oil spill. Judge bars Repsol executives from leaving the country. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Hurry down to Zasco on 15 North Road between Camp and Wellington Streets. Quality products at low cost for every room in your home. 65 and 55 inches high-stand 4K smart TVs. Samsung French door fridges. Black & Decker appliances, queen and king size Canadian-made mattresses. German-made pressure pots in 5 to 9 liters. 12-piece pot sets, knife sets, cutlery sets and pans, commercial fans. Samsung smart stoves. Canadian-made 3-piece recliner sofa sets. Air fryers and Hamilton Beach hot and cold water dispenser.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets. outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton, and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. Now here is Esther Sobers with today's regional and international news.
Good evening, and now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. In South America, at least 19 people have died after heavy rains caused flooding and landslides across Brazil's São Paulo state. Al Jazeera's Stephanie Decker reports.
You can just about make out the road. Parts of São Paulo state are underwater after 2 days of torrential rains. Rescuers now having to use boats to navigate above the roads. The rescue efforts continued through the night. Thousands of people have been made homeless due to the flooding.
Unfortunately, it's been raining since yesterday and it's flooded over other parts of the river. It hadn't flooded here until now. It started flooding and it has just started to go down.
There have also been landslides, causing a number of deaths as homes collapsed, the earth giving way under the force of the rains. This government handout video shows the devastation from above. São Paulo's governor announced almost $3 million in aid to help those affected.
I came here to see the current situation and the effects and intensity of the rain. Also, unfortunately, of the landslides, victims and fatalities here in this region.
Brazil has seen various incidents of severe flooding since the rainy season began in October. The rescue efforts are now switching to a cleanup effort. Images like these, a reminder of just how powerless we are in the face of nature. Stephanie Decker, Al Jazeera.
Peru's government says an oil spill triggered by the volcanic eruption near Tonga is twice as big as feared. It is estimated nearly 12,000 barrels have leaked into the Pacific Ocean. Al Jazeera Mariana Sanchez has more.
Oil continues to slowly move north, with President Pedro Castillo flying over the area on Saturday. The scope of the disaster is much worse, officials say, with the Italian-flagged oil tanker Mare Doricum losing nearly 12,000 barrels of crude oil, twice as much as initially thought. Government ministers have been meeting the ship's captain to try to understand what happened. Officials say the captain doubted that a tsunami from the volcanic eruption near Tonga caused a pipeline to break, as the Mare Doricum was offloading nearly 1 million barrels of crude to a refinery.
According to the captain, apparently the issue was not so much due to the waves. These ships are so heavy with a big draft, so a swell does not actually create much of an impact.
Chief Prosecutor Ariel Tapia says he wants to know if the pipelines were properly maintained. Regardless, he says it is clear that Spanish oil giant Repsol has some responsibility.
Repsol has not denied the spill. There is a responsibility for delayed action. Obviously, we see they have not acted swiftly in the mitigation or remediation, and now the rehabilitation.
Repsol controls Peru's most important refinery. It's now facing the possibility of losing its operating license and a fine of nearly $5 million.
We've allowed the public prosecutor to enter the refinery, explained what happened, and we are ready to fully collaborate with the public prosecutor's office.
A judge has ordered 4 top executives from traveling abroad for 18 months while being investigated, which could eventually mean at least 4 years in prison. The environment minister says Repsol is not complying with basic measures to clean up the oil spill. Protesters here outside the refinery say they're angry because they say the company is dragging its feet.
We're all affected. It's not fair that such a large company has not taken the necessary measures. So many families have been harmed, and the company say they're not responsible.
Repsol says it's hired more than 2,000 people to try to clean up the mess, and that 35% of it has been removed. Regardless, as the oil slick advances with the current, the damage from the largest ecological disaster in decades continues to grow. Mariana Sanchez, Al Jazeera, Lima, Peru.
And internationally, the standoff between Russia and Ukraine has Europeans worried about gas supplies. A third of Europe's natural gas comes from Russia, and if there's a war, Europe would have to turn to other providers. Al Jazeera Dominique Kane reports.
This is the Amur natural gas installation in central Russia. One of many such plants. Its product is piped to destinations in Asia and Europe, all of which generates an export revenue of more than $200 million a day for the provider Gazprom. The greatest single market is Germany, closely followed by other European countries. Cumulatively, 128 billion cubic meters of gas flows to the EU each year, representing around a third of its annual imports. But what would happen if the Ukraine crisis became a war and all of this was suddenly switched off?
There could be an interruption of gas supplies. However, the Russian government should weigh carefully whether they really want that. While it's possible to put Europe under pressure, Europe would eventually turn to liquid gas from other countries.
If liquid gas or LNG is a solution, there are a few obvious potential suppliers, most notably the US and the state of Qatar. While neither could fill the shortfall of so much gas immediately, one analyst told me Qatar might be able to provide a more medium and long-term solution.
The Qataris indeed did supply Europe with a lot more gas in the past, but given the fact that the Europeans were not very fond of the way that the contracts were structured, Qatar pivoted to Asia and now supplies for most of the gas to them rather than the Europeans. Should there be some, say, reconsideration on the European end when it comes to the contractual elements and their compatibility with European energy law, then this might actually change the situation, at least in the medium to long term.
From the geopolitical perspective, there are increasingly loud voices in Western Europe who don't want to be so dependent on Russia for their energy supply.
We have to build the foundations of our sovereignty, which means more independence from Russia. When I look at our imports in terms of oil and gas, we are not independent from Russia. This won't happen overnight.
EU leaders have been clear that a Russian act of aggression against Ukraine would have dire consequences for President Putin and his country. It would mean an end to his hopes of switching on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, depriving him of tens of billions of dollars in revenue and depriving the EU of hundreds of billions of cubic meters of Russian gas. The view in Berlin is that such a price is worth paying if it can deter Moscow from invasion. Ministers here don't want to arm the Ukrainians. They believe their most potent weapon against Putin is sanctions, no matter the cost. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, in the German capital.
Thanks, Esther. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. That is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.